Good afternoon, and thank you for your patience. We really appreciate it. My name is Kim Armstead, and I'm a Public Information Officer with the Oakland Police Department. Today, Deputy Chief Drennon Lindsey, who oversees our Bureau of Investigations, will be discussing the homicide that occurred last night in the 7900 block of Mountain Boulevard. So without further delay, I'll now turn it over to Chief Lindsey. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. As she said, my name is Deputy Chief Drennon Lindsey. I'm in charge of the Bureau of Investigations, and I'm here to talk about the homicide that occurred last night in the 7900 block of Mountain Boulevard. The Oakland Police Department is investigating a homicide that occurred just before 10:30 p.m. last night, again in the 7900 block of Mountain Boulevard. At about 10:15 p.m. last night, officers were dispatched to 98th and MacArthur on a ShotSpotter activation. While they were on scene, officers were advised by the Oakland Police Department Communications Division of a vehicle that appeared to have been struck by gunfire in the area of Keller Avenue and Mountain Boulevard. Individuals within that vehicle flagged down a Falk ambulance that was in the area. The occupants of that vehicle pulled a male juvenile from the vehicle and then drove off. The juvenile victim was treated by medical personnel on scene and pronounced deceased.
Is it believed that it was a drive-by shooting somewhere? Is it believed that he might have been outside of the car when the shots were fired? I'm just trying to get a perspective on where this all happened, where it's believed so far.
Yeah, so at this time we're still investigating, trying to locate the crime scene of where it occurred. So as I mentioned earlier, that we did have the ShotSpotter activation at 98th and MacArthur Boulevard, and then moments later we were directed by Communications Dispatch to relocate to that location where we were able to discover the person that was deceased.
I'm sorry, Chief, my brain was not locked in.
Yes.
So the ShotSpotter at 98th and MacArthur, and then you located the victim at Keller in Mountain Boulevard?
Yes.
And he was taken from the car into the ambulance?
Yes, he was.
So who was driving the car he was in?
We don't know the person who was driving the car. We haven't been able to identify or gather that information as of yet.
Did they stick around to talk to police?
No, they left the scene.
Is there any idea on what he was doing in Oakland? We've been told he's from out of town. I don't know if he has family here or friends here.
Yeah, at this time we don't have that information. It's still relatively new, and so we're still trying to put together everything, identify next of kin, trying to, nail down the crime scene, so that way we can kind of, gather more information, hopefully find some video or some evidence to kind of lead us to who that person was with, did he in fact get shot at that location? So we still have a lot more legwork to do with the case.
But to be clear, it was a gunshot wound that killed him?
Yes.
So at 98th and MacArthur, you had the ShotSpotter. What led you to Keller and Mountain Boulevard?
So while the officers were on scene, the OPD Communications Division notified the officers via their radios that they had a gunshot wound victim at that location at Keller and Mountain.
Do we know anything about the victim? Is there anything that you can tell us about the victim?
Not at this time. The victim is a juvenile.
How challenging is it to solve something like this? And what is the message for people who might live in that area who may just be fearful over coming forward with any sort of information? But I'm guessing just the smallest information could help here.
I can't speak for how people may be feeling. However, just any type of information would be helpful to lead us to a closer conclusion to find out what happened to this young person. At this time, we don't have enough information to begin to share, but we're hoping that people feel courageous enough to call in and share whatever information they have so we can solve this case.
So at Keller and Mountain Boulevard, did the folks in that car where the victim was inside, did they speed off? Did they run away? I mean, what was the situation?
Yeah, unfortunately, they pulled him from the car, got him assistance with the Falk ambulance crew, and they left immediately.
And we have time for two more questions.
If you could just talk on the tragedy this. I mean, this is a boy who, in a lot of cities, you know, a lot of people might look at this, why wasn't he home sleeping? I mean, he, you know, age where he could go to school at 14 years old, that's gotta be tough.
Yeah, that is a challenge where you have young people who, you know, end up in situations like this. I mean, this is the ultimate horrible crime and situation that you could fathom for a young person. So yeah, there's a lot of challenges, you know, with juveniles, and you know, unfortunately, I guess, you know, parents or chaperones can't be everywhere at every place. But I definitely empathize with your statement.
One
Are you
last
in
question.
any contact with his parents, with his guardian, or anybody right now?
Right now, we have not been able to identify, you know, who the next of kin is, so we're still working on that. So unfortunately, I don't have more to share with you about that.
But you do know who this kid is. You have his name. Did he have ID on him?
We have identified the person, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much.
right.
We really appreciate your patience as well as your time. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.